have some fun.
Yeah. Good evening. It's Prairie Banana. I'm here with Korypto Stylist and Papa Boehner, whom I've been a fan of for a very long time. And wow, I get to pick your brain about crypto. And what we're going to do is actually he's going to ask me some questions about my crypto security posture, and I'm going to answer him truthfully. And then we're going to, talk about maybe what I should be doing.
So welcome to the debatably most irritating stream of your life, everyone. We're gonna try to break down and build up some things that Prairie Banana is gonna be laying down in terms of his life-changing event and how to segue into how that maintains the security posture that he enjoys right now. And I think that it's unique, and yet it addresses a lot of the same questions that I get all the time, and that is, off the bat, once I've got my backups and I've got everything set and I'm using a hardware wallet and I'm very familiar with it and I use a passphrase and I've got all this stuff working, what happens when I physically move somewhere? So that was what we kind of gleaned off of the situation in the green room, but we haven't even said hello to Korypto Stylist, who just happens to be down here wiping her nose nonchalantly. We won't hold that against you. It's okay. Noses itch for girls too. But it's great to be streaming with you again after so much time. How have you been?
No, it's so nice, because I was saying in the green room to everyone that my first stream ever was with the Hex Asian group, and it was with Papa B. So it's really nice to be reconnected. And then since then, I know that we've jumped on a stream with RH Max to talk about tax, which if we have time on this stream, we can touch on that as well. But it's really great to see you. And I think that you've really established yourself as the authority, or one of the best authorities on security, crypto security. So I'm super looking forward to this stream and to having you talk. I'm sure I'll learn something even new, because this is, the technology is changing, in time. And I'm sure that there's things that I'm going to learn, and also not only on how you can secure yourself, but also what kind of scams to look out for. I think those are the two things that we should really touch on today. So it's so good to be here with you.
Oh, well, likewise. but I will say this. Let me clarify something. The authority figure for security. I have to shout out a whole bunch of people in our community that are incredible security practitioners, light years above me when it comes to the actual facts. Like, we have some people that are right now in the trenches. I haven't been in the trenches now for about 4 years, right? When it comes to actual cryptography and secure comms and all the things that I've done in my past, these people are actually blazing a trail right now with cutting edge type of tech, and they know the attacks as they come through. Now, if you go to Hacker News, you're going to see stuff that will turn your hair gray instantly. These people are fighting the fight, and I'd like to say that John McCoy, for example, you mentioned HexMax or RH Max. Mm-hmm. RH Max is very skilled as well. I mean, there's lots of people. We got Parkway Productions, who's now doing a bottom-up course from the very, very foundation of security, and he's getting his accreditation right now. I mean, I'm touching just a few of the many people that have a lot of skill and very current information. Now, me, I've got kind of I like to say I'm a second grade level practitioner within our community, but arguably I'm the loudest, because I don't want to deal with the bullshit of, I don't see any value in spending money on the security if I only have that much money to spend on crypto. So I'm dealing with that type of player, and I got to grab them by the lapels and shake them and say, you're going to lose, right? So I thank you for saying that I'm maybe one of the authorities on it. Perhaps on that level, I'm grateful to be considered so. But that being said, I'm always learning, as everyone should be, right?
Absolutely. So, Prairie, how do you want to structure this? Do you have like an agenda, or should we just start to go through by talking about the different aspects of security and just breaking it down?
I would like you to tell the audience why this stream is so very important to pay attention to.
Okay. I think that for those of you watching, especially if this is your first bull cycle, but even if you've been in crypto for a while, this is one of the most important streams you could watch as we're in this cycle and just in your life in general. This is, if you're going to pay attention and really take notes at any time in your life, now is the time, because it doesn't matter how many X's that are made in this bull cycle. If your wallet gets drained, it's never coming back. And it happens to people every day. So let's just do what we can to educate ourselves, educate you, and to prevent this from happening and protect our gains so we can all win together.
Yeah. Yay. I mean, if our favorite assets do half as well as we think they might do, we're going to want to make sure that those assets are secure. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys how I do my security. It's very basic and what I know about security. Okay, so I use a hardware wallet. I have 3 of them. I bought them directly from the manufacturer, not from eBay or Amazon. I learned that from you, Papa Boehner. I have my seed phrases engraved on stainless steel. It might not be the exact type of medical grade or whatever it is, stainless steel, but they are engraved. I have 2 copies. And they're not they're not mixed up. And I have a passphrase. What else? Oh, whenever I transact, this is where you're going to probably dink me, Papa Boehner, is, well, I'm not using a separate computer. I'm just using my main computer. And when I transact, I just kind of click through. Sometimes like if I'm on a certain asset, I will check the last 3 and the first 3 of the address I'm transacting with, the contract. But sometimes the other assets, I'll just click right on through. I've never had an issue, but there is, I think, probably potential for an issue there.
Okay.
What else was there to say about my posture? I got multiple wallets, just a few.
Multiple wallets and multiple seeds.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. And what I've done is I have split my assets, most of them, across all 3 wallets, because I know that I am fallible, and that I admit I make some really crazy mistakes. How did I do that? Well, if I have one of those in one of my assets and, I wipe it out of my wallet, then I've got it's over on 2 other wallets. That's kind of how I've done it. Or if somebody else gains access to my wallet, then I'm protected that way too.
Cool. Just off the bat, I want to say that there's kind of a, I think we found this about 3 years ago. There's an exploit that can actually duplicate. This is really strange. Actually, Hextrovert Ty brought this to my attention. I checked into it. It's a real thing. The copy paste function that actually mimics the first 5 and last 5 digits, or the numbers and letters in your wallet address. It can actually do that, but then the difference lies in between. So checking just the first 5 and the last 5 method when you do copy paste is not where it's at anymore. You have to really double check everything. If it's a big amount that you're sending, do that, double check. If not, send a small test and then send it back to the verified wallet address that you have in your Rabby, or Rabby actually clears. You can actually clear the wallet addresses for transacting. So you can set that. Once it's set in there, it even behooves you to double check again before you send.
Sure.
So
And that's just what I need to incorporate, is looking at the middle portion of the address. Another thing is my seed phrases have never been digitized. I've not screenshot them. I didn't take a picture with my phone. I never even whispered them out loud.
Okay.
So, I mean, it should be rock solid, but it's the transacting that I'm a little bit nervous, because I know I'm doing crypto on my main computer where I have Telegram and all these other.
So that's your first concern. So we can take apart the things that you think are less than optimal, and we can address those first. So you called out the fact that you don't have a dedicated laptop, right?
Correct.
because you're using the hardware wallet, it assumes, and by the way, in security, our goal is to get as close to zero probability, like ultimate zero, true zero probability, but we know that we're never going to get there. So the game is to simply, add more zeros behind the decimal with the likelihood of somebody exploiting your situation, right?
Yep.
So when you don't have a dedicated laptop, I rank that very low as long as you are using a hardware wallet, because it assumes through the encrypted path that it's actually injecting your seeds into the blockchain, actually your private key, which is a representation of the seeds, into the blockchain to be able to find out where your goodies are and which ones are yours. It creates its own path. So nobody is going to be able to this date, and we hope that it won't be cracked, is able to crack that type of tunneling action. So that's okay that you're not using a dedicated laptop. You can go to a friend's house as long as you get your hardware wallet. You're pretty okay to be using, already unsecured spaces. Okay. So that is a very low, although it's always best to use a dedicated laptop. I'm saying that is several decimals down in terms of adding on to the likelihood of getting whacked. So I think that that's okay for now. Okay?
Sure.
Could be a problem in the future that actually is able to intercept and decrypt. But as of today, SHA-512, which is actually what you're getting when you use your passphrase, has not been cracked and looks to be not crackable for many years, even with the whole looming, oh my God, these amazing computers are going to be able to crunch things, whatever. To this very date with SHA-512, the likelihood of somebody being able to guess, or a computer being able to crack the difference between your goodie bag and anybody else's is 1 to the 17th quattuorvigintillion against them being able to find you out.
I like
okay,
that.
Now, if you don't use a passphrase, that reduces significantly. So, like Richard always used to say, for all those boneheads that try to call me out and say, but Richard said that MetaMask is okay. No, he said later, if you're going to use a hardware wallet, you get a lot better, especially if you use the 25th word, and that is the passphrase. So he's talking, quattuorvigintillions against versus, terabillions or whatever the next decimal place is down the rung. You lose that. So you get an exponentially better result for security if you use a passphrase. Okay. Because there's a default known one. If you don't use a passphrase nowadays and you're on Ethereum or you're on Pulse Chain, the default is known to all the attackers already, and that's the first one that they use. So if you leave it blank, you are using a passphrase, but it's a default passphrase. And I think it's don't hold me to it, but it's a default word that everybody should, all the attackers know already. So good for you. You do the right thing. Unsecured laptop, we already addressed that. Passphrase, we already addressed that. Hardware wallet, we've been talking about that for years. Hardware wallet is a must. Why? Because those 24 words, and I don't suggest 12 words for anybody, because that's, like I said, it's an exponential difference between a 12 and 24. And 24 words that have been selected on the hardware wallet that has the true randomization. Because if you flip coins and try to look at it on the SHA, the word list, the BIP39 word list, there's always a bit of an influence with all humans. We're very bad at picking random numbers and random things. So there's always the smallest chance. Remember, we're several decimal places down in terms of probability, but we want to reduce that and push the number further out to the right. The idea is this hardware leaves some residue on your local machine and also generates it, cross-checks it again on the hardware wallet. In the case of the Trezor, this happens. Ledger, I believe, also occurs only on the device itself, but Ledger has a strange methodology by which it leaves a little breadcrumb on your local machine before it starts to generate the seeds, which gives it a little bit more randomization and uniqueness to it. So, but the two are fine because the generation is supposed to be absolutely random. The two just simply have two different philosophies. But with Trezor, Like I said, trusting the hardware to generate those random things, I'm very much a proponent for that. So that's a good thing that you've got going for you as well. And then the passphrase that you've selected, you've created, you can have on Trezor up to 50 different unique characters on the ASCII keyboard. That's incredible amounts of complexity. And it's never held in storage. It's never held on the device. It's never held locally on your machine. And if you never type it in anywhere, it just simply exists on paper in your real world.
Is it important for that passphrase to be a long passphrase, or can it be short?
Okay, so if I were to tell you that I were an attacker and I start with the default passphrase, and then go on from there with only one, like the number 1 populated,
right,
all the way until the final ASCII character at the final 50th possible slot, the answer would be, for time, if I'm going to attack this type of thing with a brute force attack, where I'm going to be guessing all the numbers, then obviously the more complex it is, that would be intuitive that would be more strong, right? It'll be stronger. However, there are other attacks there are attackers, they can start at the very end and go backwards. There are others that could start in the middle and go forwards and then backwards again. You don't know what their methodology and their algorithm is going to allow them to do. But I would suggest, yes, the longer and the more complex is great. I once suggested to somebody that wanted to get the most complex, and this comes from a cryptographer that I used to work with, is a stream of consciousness, imagine a tweet that you would come up with a few words in that tweet or that story that you're going to tell that are purposely mistyped. And then you do some that are simply numerical equivalents of the letters that you want to type, some that are in reverse order, and finally ending it with 6 to 8 random numbers.
Wow.
If you did that, this is what the cryptographer told me. He says, if you do that, you've got a very, very robust password. And that translates to passphrase. And now you got 50 on Ledger. You can do up to 100 characters. On Trezor, I believe it's still 50, but 50 is plenty if you follow that methodology.
Yep. Okay.
But remember, you have to back this up. You have to back this up separately from your seeds. And no, you don't remember anything. Don't trust your memory for anything. Let me ask you something. What did you have for lunch 2 weeks ago?
Nothing.
I can't remember what I had lunch yesterday. So
I ate once a day, so I didn't have anything.
You didn't have anything. Okay. So all right. So how did you break your fast 3 days ago?
Yeah.
You can't really recall it in exactly. You could probably say, oh, I had Franks and beans. And you're like, oh, Franks and beans. What was on the side? I don't remember. What side of the plate did you draw from? The Frank side or the bean side? Oh, damn that. Yeah. So you get stuck with that. You uncover why we don't trust a brain wallet. A brain wallet is some smart ass that says, I commit it to memory. They're never going to get it out of me. You're your own weakest link.
They're about to get bonked in the head and forget it.
Well, that bonking on the head thing doesn't happen so much. You have to have you really have to know who you want to go after to do that effectively. And that person already was fouling up their security posture by advertising that they were in crypto. So I don't hear a lot about, hey, Papa, I just got bonked on the head and I woke up and I was tied to a chair and then they got the seeds and passphrase out of me. I never hear that.
No,
it's very unlikely to happen. However, there are incidents from the last bull run that we heard, like rappers were, riding around in some really bad part of a foreign country and they saw him coming and they grabbed him, kidnapped him, and beat it out of him or killed him because they thought that they could get it and they couldn't. So that comes to your physical in real life OPSEC, and that's a different kettle of fish. But yeah, it's a risk. The worst risk, I think, is that you'll forget it. Or, the people that DM me recently, and this is a bit of a sidetrack, I'm sorry, but the biggest risk right now at this time in the cycle are these guys that took the whole bear market off, guys and girls that took the bear market off, came back and for some reason don't remember how they mangled up their seeds and their passphrases,
Yeah.
and they can't get it to work again. They left off 3 or 4 of the words on their seed, and then they say, can we just crack this together? And I'm like, well, 4 with all these different options will take you roughly about a year, and I would recommend doing it manually, not actually going to a computer and trying to crack it, because it's quite significant. So you have just enough time. If you guess every one, you do these every day, with hopefully the aid of a clinical psychiatrist that can actually put you under and try to get you to remember those last 4 words. But it's a stupid thing to do. Don't trust your brain when it comes to backing up your seeds or your passphrase. Sorry, what were you going to say, Korypto Stylist?
Oh, no. Well, I just wanted to say, first of all, I totally could not agree with you more. I reset passwords for like my banks and stuff the other day, and I was like, okay, I'll remember it. Thank God I wrote it down in a different notebook, but I was, for the life of me, couldn't remember how it started. I had because I've set so many passwords, your mind just like, you cannot trust your memory. So I could not agree with that more and stress that enough. You will be your own worst enemy in that case. But going back, okay, so Prairie, going back, and I'm not saying this to make you feel bad. I'm not picking on you, but I just think that it might be worthwhile to explore buying a cheap computer and having it separate and having a separate computer, because you never know if, who was it? The lovely, smart, amazing female Hexagon. She wears the crown.
Who recently, like 3 months ago.
Yeah, she got hacked. She downloaded, she was asked to download a video game. You never know what's on your computer. If you're like tooling around, Telegram and X and just online, there's just always a chance, and then plus if you're typing in
she was not using a hardware wallet though.
True, but
she was using a web-based, soft wallet. So that was actually a big debate that I jumped into, right? Because I got a whole bunch of backlash. She and I locked horns a little bit. It was before that exploit. We actually locked horns 6 months prior to her getting attacked. And I take no satisfaction from being right when I'm debating people like that. I take no satisfaction in seeing big bags in our community, long-standing hexagons and pulsicans in our community getting wiped out and then making it a public show. I take no satisfaction for being right. It hurts me as much as it hurts them, because the attackers dump the price on my head as much as hers.
Totally. But my point, Papa, is that if you're investing all this money into crypto, and if this thing is going to do and is in the process of doing and continues to do what we think it can do, even just a portion thereof.
Yep.
Why not spend the $500, $700 and just have a separate computer, so you just know that that's just clean. Yep. And that I just want to minimize this to your point, Papa, that you want to take the probability to as close to 0 as possible of getting hacked. Yep. And that's just my 2 cents. Prairie.
I've got an answer though to the pushback that you're going to get for, I don't have $500 to $600. The answer is, go get an old laptop at least and just reinstall the OS and start from scratch. You can do that. Everyone has some old PC sitting around, old OS. Just maybe if it doesn't handle Windows 10, or you can't get that legitimate OS onto it anymore, go for Linux, because Linux actually is compatible with a lot of these hardware wallets. The hardware manufacturers put out the compatibility for the GUI to work effectively on Linux as well. And if you don't know Linux at all, then it's pretty basic. If you need an instruction or something, then I'm sure we can connect you up with somebody that can lead you through that. If you can't afford a new laptop, or you can't understand how to reboot it with Windows, or you can't understand how to reboot it with Linux, there's got to be somebody that we can hook you up with.
And ChatGPT could always walk a person through how to use Linux. I guarantee it.
There you go. Sure.
But,
yes.
Shout out some makes and models that you have had good success with, or recommend, or
anything. Yep. We've got, actually, if you do a Google search for Wake Up Hex episode 125, you'll get all of my input on makes and models that but still the manufacturers and my opinion on the manufacturers, it's all there documented. So Wake Up Hex episode 125 is a kind of a forum discussion where we talk about that. But off the top of my head, I love anything, like I said, anything that's made in Taiwan is fine. Anything that's made in the United States, HP is a very good manufacturer that I trust and love. Apple computers are okay, even though they're built primarily abroad. The security of their supply chain and their actual manufacturing is quite good. I wouldn't say it's perfect, but it's very good. Make sure that you're buying it from an authorized dealer, of course, or had already bought it from an authorized dealer. Samsung, LG, Toshiba. If you can get an old Toshiba, that's fine, because those used to be made in Japan. Fujitsu. These are some of my favorites. I mean, again, that stream covers everything, though, to the best of my knowledge.
I dropped it into the chat. So Wake Up Hex episode 125. And then I'll try to find a link and then drop it as well. I think I watched that episode. I think I watched it a couple of times. It's very good. It's super comprehensive, which is great. And there's several wallets, hardware wallets that are out now. So there's Trezor, there's Ledger. Yep. I personally really like Tangem, but I'm just wondering what your pros and cons of each of those, and anything else that you think is good.
Okay, so I'll just explain why I don't like it. Can you produce your Tangem for a second? Can you show everybody what it looks like?
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Sure.
We're going on a tangent.
Tangem. Tangem actually had they spent more time and money on the marketing of their product than they did on the actual, mathematics behind it and the actual security. So that's one of my first points
from a business perspective.
Okay, great. So now what you've produced is it's a credit card sized thing that operates with what? It relies on your phone for what it does, correct?
Yes.
Okay, there's one of the issues that I have already. I don't want anything to do with my phone when it comes to crypto. Recently, we've seen
so many unkind, Stylus, but
huh? No, that's just one of my bones to pick with Tangem. There's many other reasons. If that thing, supposedly you're trusting this, I would call it a third string manufacturer that outsources their actual printing of those cards out of their control. We believe it's Taiwan, but the only place that manufactures those types of chips, there's only two places that do that. One is Taiwan, the other is China. To the best of my knowledge, those are not made in the United States or any friendly European country. So you've got that to contend with, first of all. And there's a lot of real estate in those thin film elements that can be placed for things to do things that you don't want it to do, like phoning home and sending that to the CCP and all sorts of other crap like that. Also, they claim that this thing is super encrypted, and if anybody gets it, they can't get anything from it. But there was some YouTuber that actually was able to grab at least some of the data that they thought was obscured, and they found the manufacturer to be in China. So if there's nothing else that you glean from it, if it can be verified that the elements and the chip itself have been made in China, I don't want anything to do with it. Second of all, it relies on your phone to do everything that it's supposed to do. My question is, okay, where does the random generation occur? It can't occur actually on the element itself because it's powered with very low frequency or very low amounts of milliamperes that are passed through the coils on the phone. So I believe that you're either relying on, let's say that there's a technology that's patented that allows it to generate from the actual element. Well, that thing was made in China. I don't like that. What if it sends a breadcrumb onto your actual phone and the phone is responsible for the entropy? I don't like that either, because I don't want phones to be anywhere near any crypto that anybody does. Why? Because the exploits are freaking outrageous when it comes to phones. I worked 4 years in secure comms, and we developed our own phones. We developed all sorts of stuff. We had to get everything, built from the ground up. We made prototypes. We actually put it to market. It was a famous brand. I can't tell you because it would dox me, but I'm telling you right now, I've seen the evolution of the cell phone industry from its first days until today. And I'm telling you, I would not want my crypto anywhere close to anything to do with the phone. So the question that I have for you, though, is, Crypto Stylist, why did you find this solution interesting? Why did you gravitate toward this solution when there were other well-established solutions already out there? I'm going to save you the time and I'm going to give you a multiple choice. Was it because it was marketed to you from somebody? Was it because it seemed cute and easy to carry around? Did you think that it was higher, better technology? Which one was it that gravitated you toward specifically Tangent? Because what I noticed was they spent, and when you were going and finding your solution to show everybody, I was telling Prairie Banana that I noticed that company who tried and failed the first cycle that I was tracking them, and tried again even harder at the beginning of this cycle to really push crypto communities with printing custom Tangent wallets with their favorite logos and everything on. They put a lot of money and time into marketing rather than bolstering their solution itself. What grabbed you with this solution rather than going to Ledger or Trezor?
You're muted.
Muted.
I use Trezor, and I have 5 of them. And what makes me nervous about Trezor, and this is something else I want to talk to you about, is that you're constantly having to do these updates. And I always feel like, oh my God, am I just about to get drained every time? And you always had to do the updates. And they're very, very, mine are very, very buggy. So sometimes like the connection always gets lost, or like it disconnects easily, and I have to start over like multiple times. And it seemed like, from what I understood, and I probably didn't understand well, I felt like even though that you access Tangent through your phone, like I actually do all the transactions. I connect it to my computer. So I just take the QR and then I flash it and I do everything on my computer. The only thing you're typing in to your phone is your personalized passphrase, but the seed phrase is never on the phone. So I don't know. That felt to me.
It is when you take a picture of that QR. And by the way, your phone's camera is the first thing that can be commandeered by the bad guys. Okay. So that stream is not encrypted. All these QR solutions are the same when it comes to, oh, it's easy, it's flashy, it's fun, it's like you're James Bond. It's like you feel that you've got a better security posture because you're doing this QR code. No one could ever find this out. No, it can be snapshotted just as easily as you're taking a picture of it on your computer. So that's number one. But number two, I would be very, very scared. You're scared because there's these updates. I would be scared if there was a solution that didn't get updates from developers out of a good European or American company that are held to guidelines and structure and actually have some liability in this whole thing as well, that have big war chests in case they ever do you dirty. You can actually go and get them, take them to court and say, you freaking stole my stuff. Well, with Tangent, can you please tell me where the developers are and why they haven't put the same frequency of updates out for the ones that you're getting scared about for Ledger and Trezor?
I believe it's based in Switzerland.
Yeah, no, it's not, because the company is actually registered in Switzerland, but I've registered a company in Switzerland before. I don't live anywhere near Switzerland. I worked for Chinese-backed companies before as well. Chinese money coming in. Where were we based? Switzerland. Why? Because that's what everybody wants to see for security. Where was the actual development done? China. We had 2 flavors of a solution for secure comms. One that would be able to stay in China and stay with their encryption that was relinquished to the CCP. And the other one was delved out of Hong Kong blank, and then we put it together in the United States and a little secret sauce in Switzerland so that we could say it was made in Switzerland. It's all a scam. Whenever a company says it's out of Switzerland, unless you see YouTubers and you go and you audit them and you find out that the devs are in Switzerland, which nobody can afford now, by the way, then I would be very, very suspicious of anybody that says Singapore or Switzerland. Singapore, Switzerland. Singapore is right next door in terms of Chinese make a lot of investments into Singaporean, devs and nice window dressing. But the truth is that they do switch Singapore because it's just one level of it's a skin, so to speak, on what they're doing. It's out of mainland China. So that's what I have to say about that. But if you delve down deeper, you'll find out that actual company from the actual meat and potatoes, the devs and the infrastructure are actually out of China. And this, the thing that sets you off is when you look at the Tangent website, the first thing to look for is what are the languages that they specifically allow you to click on and translate the site into? What are they? I think that about 4 months ago, last time I checked up on them,
Oh, look.
it was 2 different types of Chinese, Mandarin and Cantonese, right? And the other one was English and maybe Russian or something. It was like really, really shady choices when it comes to what languages you're appealing to and what audiences. And remember, they can't sell to China unless the ability to encrypt and decrypt is known to the CCP. That is the rule in China. Anybody in the chat that has any experience contract manufacturing out of China would know that I'm telling the truth there. And somebody called bullshit on that a long time ago. And Das Baum actually published the report from China that does say even today that rule applies.
So if you're not able to ship to China, if a company or a wallet's not able to ship to China, you're saying that it doesn't pass some really important security standards. Is that
No. So in the case of the business that I was doing, we would have to create 2 shells of the hardware, right? One that stayed in China and had the firmware and software, the firmware to actually communicate between the chipset and the actual device, or the rest of the device, that is, that had to originate outside of China, or else all the encryption and decryption had to be registered, including the ability to decrypt with the Chinese government and military. So if you find something that comes out of China in any way, shape, or form with the development happening in China, with it being loaded with even firmware in China, then I would steer away from it. So that's where when you dig down the rabbit hole and you start asking questions with these companies, you find quickly that at least some component, some critical component that has some kind of encryption was manufactured in mainland China. Korea, for the time being, is completely different, though. So they don't have that rule. So they make all sorts of beautiful tech that we can, for now, trust as if it's made in Czech Republic, for example, with Trezor, or France when it comes to Ledger. These countries have rules and regulations that allow them to vend out encrypted information and encrypted type of methodology that doesn't require anyone to know how to decrypt it. And that's what we rely on in crypto. Nobody knowing how to freaking decrypt this stuff.
I want to address a couple of questions about wallets in the chat. Somebody asked about Ngrave and OPSEC wallets. I haven't heard of these. Yeah. And I'm just going to tell you, like, my advice is, well, what I would do is I'm going to go with the common brand's going to be either a Trezor or a what's the other one?
Ledger.
Yep. And let everybody else cut their teeth on those other wallets. That's what I'm going to do.
That's a very good strategy. Remember what the two hikers were caught with a bear attack, and the bear was charging at them, and one guy says, you're never going to outrun that bear, and the other camper looks at the other one and says, I don't have to outrun the bear, I'm just going to outrun you. So I completely subscribe to this philosophy. Now, I will say, though, that the Ngrave Zero, I don't want to spend too much time going about why I hate certain hardware wallets, but I will say this, that the Ngrave Zero has a battery on board. That's a no-no for me. Let's believe for a moment that they're built and manufactured and the development's all in Belgium. I can believe that because they really raised a lot of cash early, and that was what they always said that they were going to do, and I believe that they did it. However, I will say that the Ngrave Zero, the Ngrave of the company behind it, they were just raising their mezzanine round of financing. And Ledger and Trezor have a boatload of cash because they've been in the market for longer and they don't have to raise any funds anymore. So Engrave Zero is a new player. I think a lot of hexagons were lured in because there were some shady dealings with somebody that may or may not have had a position actually in the company when they did some fundraise and thought it would be great to actually sell to the hexagons, and got our hex logo put onto the GUI for the Engrave and tried to say, hey, everybody, look at this. They really are sensitive to our thing. This is the one we should go with. Let's all shift. And I said, whoa. If anything goes wrong, we know this company is kind of eking for cash. That wouldn't be the one that I go after in a court of law if they screw me over. Also, the Engrave didn't support passphrases, which, coming to as a callback to the beginning of our show, and I don't, every time I would criticize them, openly and in X, they would come back saying, we're going to support it in summertime. Come on, man. Well, look, if you're playing catch up with these other big boys in the market, Ledger and Trezor, and you're only getting to the point where you can support passphrases, that ain't the one that I'm going to recommend to people. Plus, you don't have enough cash, plus. And if I'm not mistaken, the Engrave Zero is also the one that relies on QR code technology. And I'll tell you this about Engrave as well. I suspect, judging by the timeline of when they came out, when they first actually advertised their solution, it was funny that the front runner of that technology, because they were like touting it as though this is going to be groundbreaking. You shoot this QR code and nothing is held locally and all this stuff. Elipal company came out, and also there was another one called the Kobo Vault, and both of them miraculously had repurposed old cell phones to mimic the technology that Engrave was actually trying to patent. I believe that Engrave didn't have enough capital at the beginning to actually patent that technology, and Engrave and Kobo Vault ripped them off and front ran their marketing campaign. So I respect them because they may have come up with the technology. I respect them because they're out of Belgium. I don't respect them because it's a sealed unit that has a battery on board. If I'm mistaken, please call me out, but I believe that makes that solution have a specific shelf life of 3 to 5 years. And you know that when we stake long and strong, we're in this for like 15 years. I don't want to go to any technology that I have to worry about no passphrase support or late to the game, has a battery on board, and I'm going to have to migrate it to another non-battery on board proven thing anyway later down the line, because they could be out of business. So that's my assessment. I mean, you weigh all these things. These are like rolling dice to create character sets on some PvP type of game. If you get strength, you get agility, you get charisma, you get all these things. Back in the day, we called that Dungeons and Dragons. But anyway, I'm saying that all of these solutions have strengths in all these categories. I think that everything but, and I'm still looking for one that's got, everything super high. But I think that Ledger and Trezor, and Ledger with, not talking about their new SKUs, I'm not talking about the new stacks, I'm not talking about any of that bullshit that they started to be able to vend out or back up the seeds to third-party vendors. When they did that, they lost me on those upper SKUs. The lower SKUs, though, still don't do that. So Ledger and Trezor still, I think, best games in town.
Stylus, do you have any more comments or questions?
I think this is super. I don't know about Engrave, so I think it's really interesting just to understand like the rationale and what can constitute, what makes the back end technology more secure or less secure. So I think that's really helpful. I think that there's also a lot of good questions in the chat. Somebody's asking about the firmware updates for Ledger. Is that right?
Yep, John J.
Yes. Guys, I thought there was a problem with the Ledger firmware updates. Please, could you elaborate?
Sure. I think what they're talking about is that thing that I just mentioned, and that is that Ledger took a left turn on us all about 2 years ago when they said, oh, we have this philosophy. We are going to make it even easier for you to get your seeds back in case you destroy them yourself or you forget them. It's a great idea. We will send them in 3 pieces out to some undisclosed third party, and they will keep them for you because, hey, it's security, right?
Yeah.
So that was an upgrade. The firmware, whether you opted in for that service or not, it was opined by many in the security community that you wouldn't want those hooks or the possibility of that getting exploited someday later on, and either doing it against your will or getting exploited by a third party that was going to take your seeds out of your damn device. Because that's not why you buy a hardware wallet. You buy a hardware wallet so it's all self-contained, no contact upstream at all, simply going through a controlled and secure tunnel into the blockchain through your interface. That's it. So I don't know why Ledger decided on this being a great thing. Maybe they were faced with other competitors that were touting that this was the way that things were going to go, and people needed a way to recover their seeds in case they lose them. I don't know why, but it definitely pulled the likelihood of an attack up several decimal places. And remember, we're supposed to push them out several decimal places. They were pulling it back. And when asked about it by the security community, they simply said, this is the way we're going to do things. And I didn't really approve of that. That's why I still tell people the lower SKUs, I believe the Nano S and S Plus, the S, if you still have one there, I don't think they make them anymore, but the S Plus doesn't get that security up, doesn't get that update that allows for that to happen. So if anybody wants to get a Ledger, I say S Plus is really good. But for Trezor, they don't have any of those problems.
Okay.
Papa, I wonder if you would talk to somebody that's brand new to crypto, because people are going to run across this video in this bull run. They heard about crypto and they know that they're supposed to, this stuff, you can make a mistake really easy. Now what do I do? So let's talk to the new users, the brand new people. And at the same time, if you would address Ray's question, I think he asked about Keystone, which I think might be a brand.
Yeah, Keystone is the rebranded Kobo Vault wallet that's made in China. So pass. No, they'll say on their website that they're based, like I said before, in Singapore, but the manufacturing is done in China. It's a rebranded secure cell phone. Actually, the cell phone shell, they just simply created their own. There's like a battery pack that you can put on. You can either use double A's or the rechargeable pack. And again, that's the technology that you scan the QR code. Absolute piece of gutter trash. I would completely avoid it at all costs.
Wow. Okay.
That's all I have to say about Keystone, the Kobo Vault, which is the predecessor rebranded to Keystone, and then the Elapal. Any of the Elapal line, just if you get it as a stocking stuffer, consider it a lump of coal and use it as a decoy. Use it as a decoy. Put it on your desk and wait for a dinner party and see who makes off with it.
Okay, now the new people coming in, they don't know anything about security. Well, give us some basic guidelines.
Okay, so someone comes into crypto, and I've got onboards here in Hawaii, and they are super low tech. A lot of them don't even have a laptop computer. And I say, so you want to go make money, but you don't have the simple basic implements to go make money on this. So the first thing to do is decide, what are you going to invest in this whole thing of ours? And then, do you have enough to cover the cost of a laptop computer or a home PC, right? You're not just doing things on your phone. That's number one. Number two, the cost. And we just saw in the chat that there's a Black Friday deal on Trezor Ones of $34.
That's a great deal.
It's a great deal. I've already got a stack from previous Black Fridays at $50. Now I'm going to go buy more at $34 for sure. That is the best money you could ever spend for technology right there.
And
$34.
where should they buy them from, Papa B?
Trezor.io website only. Do not get them from Best Buy. Do not get them from Amazon. Do not.
There's a referral link in the description of this video. It's my referral link. If you click on it, you'll be the first one. I don't need referrals, but it's there if you want it.
Very good. And I suggest that. I personally just all things out in the open. I've never accepted a referral link, any goodies from them, but Prairie Banana, you're more than welcome to do that. You're singing the gospel of the hardware wallet. I'm all for that. I personally have never taken any of these referral bonuses and things, although there's people in our community that have, and I have no problem with that. But because people constantly ask me about, this and that and my feelings on certain brands, I will be the first. Any brand that screws us up that we've got to pivot from, I'll be the first to tell people to drop it like a hot rock. And no one can accuse me of being biased, I hope, because I took any referrals from anyone. And I missed out on thousands and thousands of dollars, I'm sure. But I don't want the headache of somebody saying, you're in Ledger and Trezor's pocket, man. Haven't taken a fucking dime. So thank you. Sorry about my French. I hope that this is not a family show.
This is Hawaiian.
Right on.
All right, go on about basic. Yeah.
So back to the Hawaiians, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So first thing I say is, and this was like last 2-3 weeks ago, I said, all right, go get yourself a non-Chromebook, right? Regular PC running Windows, because you're going to use it for other things. You don't have to dedicate it to crypto if it's your only laptop that you've ever had. But over at Costco, you can get an HP. It was on sale for like $3.99. I said, you're going to have to spend about $450 to get into this thing, because I really demand that you have your own PC, because you're not doing this on your phone, and you get a hardware wallet. And I will wait while you order those two things, right? You order those two things, get the laptop, order the Trezor, and then establish yourself a relationship at your local bank and your on-ramp solution. And they say, what's an on-ramp solution? Well, I said, how do you think fiat's going to get into the blockchain? Well, there's different options. We have OS Coast. We get OX Coast right now, but we're lucky, right? OX Coast can get you right into this thing of ours. But you also want to have a legitimate off-ramp as a backup. So maybe a SEX like, Gemini or Coinbase or whatever, you're going to have to apply to them, do their KYC and was it anti-money laundering crap? But it pays to have that off-ramp and a backup off-ramp. So while you're applying and you're getting that situated, as soon as the hardware wallet gets in, I may just have to give you a little bit of crypto to play with and understand the mechanics of how to send it back and forth and how to generate an actual seed and how to work out the passphrase. Once we're really familiar with the mechanics, then we begin our investment strategy, because the foundation should always be security. Because I'll be damned if I get a phone call from you when your shit has gone up 100x and you're excited and you want to sell and you look and it's not there anymore. And then I got to put you on my shoulder and let you cry it out. I'm not going to be that guy. Right now, I serve a dual purpose in this community. One, as a warning beacon saying, God damn it, keep your kids safe, get them out of the water, it's riptide. The other one is, I'm sorry your child died. It's terrible. Everyone's been through it. Come over here. Let's go to the wake together. We'll dust you off and get you back on the horse and get you going again. I don't like the second job, and I don't want to do it anymore. The first job, I feel that I've kind of done it already. So if you haven't listened to other Hexicans saying, get a hardware wallet this late in the game, I wouldn't be changing horses now and getting to some solution that you're not familiar with. So I'll save myself some time and tell you now, if you're familiar and you're happy with your Kobo Vault or your, what's this thing that you've got, Korypto Stylist? What's this thing, this little card solution that you've got?
Tangem.
If you like your Tangem, if you like your whatever the hell type of solution, and it hasn't betrayed you yet, stick to it, because you could screw things up by jumping on a different horse at this point. Even though I don't sign off on it, even though I don't think it's optimal, stick to it just for the next 9 to 10 months. And you're going to get off of that thing anyway. And take this moment in time. This is another thing I thought I would say on your broadcast, is I think before the crypto, huge final bull run, it may behoove you to aggregate the things that you intend to dump ahead of time, to refresh yourself on how to get in and out of your old wallets that you've kept in cold storage for a long time, just to make sure that you can do it. Because the most amount of DMs that I'm getting right now are from people that have mismanaged their seeds or their passphrases. And it hurts me to tell them that you've locked yourself out of every possibility of getting any gains. You've done it because you haven't managed your backups until now. you took all this time out and you had that one element that you remembered, but 3 years later, it ain't there anymore. And there's nothing I can do to help you. I'm sorry, but this is a problem that I cannot help you with, right? So this is the time to refresh yourself on what you have, to get into your wallets, to make sure that you can unscramble the things that you scrambled in the past and make sense of them and get in. And that's another concept that we can move on to at some point in this conversation, and that is obfuscation and why it's very important. Very Banana, you have a specific use case or a specific case that we could address, and that is the whole mobility issue, right? You're going to be relocating. We can get to that in a minute, but have I answered some of these questions, or are there more? I think I answered no questions. And I think you've answered them. Yeah, okay.
One thing that I would add is that it's fine to write your seed phrase down, but what if it gets burnt? What if it gets flooded? You know, I put mine on stainless steel. I literally bought an engraver off Amazon and I engraved mine. And there are other things you can do to get it into steel. And, you know, my whole family knows if the house burns down, get your rake and start raking over there in that corner, because that's where you're going to find them.
Very good. That's a great thing. Now, stainless steel, depending on how thin it is, does have it has a lower boiling point than titanium. And we've had firefighters in the Telegram chat way back when. They say that things just get liquefied if you hide them in like a underground or a basement or something. All the cinders and everything fall down there and they become what they described as lava. It's lava. It's molten, and it will melt everything into dust. So they say that our strategy of holding things at the actual on grade, meaning at below the fire line for above the structure, but on the actual pad, not above a basement, you stand a better chance of keeping your stainless steel or titanium plate, or we say fender washers are very good to stack up to get all the less surface area but more density. We have a whole bunch of videos to show you how to do that, to actually hammer those numbers and letters into fender washers. There's also no breadcrumbs, there's no trail between you and crypto when you buy those types of things. You just go to Home Depot and buy a bag of fender washers and get the punches that have the letters on them, and you just hammer them in and then you stack them up. And it also allows for obfuscation, because you can then take those and renumber them in a different order than they actually should be made. And then you can have another place where you have that recipe backed up as well. This is key, right? It's like if somebody finds your fender washers after the house burns down, or if somebody breaks in and finds them and they're in some different type of script or order, or they have some kind of cipher that's been applied to them. This is always better than right reading, keeping your backups in right reading or in paper or in even plastic. But you've hit the nail on the head when it comes to, flood tolerant, fire tolerant type of backups. You can't do better than metal, I believe, So you've touched on a very good point that we used to preach all the time.
In addition to that, what I do is I put all that, the metal and then the paper or where my seed phrases are, into a fire and waterproof little safe. So just as many layers as possible to protect it from weather and from natural.
Yep. That's a good point too. But if you notice the safe, if you open the door, there's a printed, well, hold on a second. You're Korean, am I correct there, Korypto Stylist? So are you familiar with Diplomat, which is a very big Korean manufacturer?
Yes.
Okay, those are very good. But if you open up a safe, you'll notice that there is a listing. There's a grade, and it's got some letters. It's got like W, F, H, T. So I think that the W, of course, is water. The F is fire. Then it goes into tools and explosives. Wow. So there's every you got to understand that in security, everything can be cracked at some point. Well, safes are graded because they actually, all safes, every safe on earth, given the right amount of time and opportunity and tools, can be cracked. So they simply grade them for the amount of time that they can be submerged before things get inside, the amount of fire in terms of the heat and the time under that type of heat load. And then there's the tools and explosives, which is the person that's trying to crack it. So make sure that it's graded up high enough to withstand enough of a fire term in your life, or submersion of your place. If you're on a hill, if you're in an floodplain, which is marked 1, 2, or X, you have to know these things before you actually trust it. Also, the firefighters said in the chat that it didn't matter if you had a fire safe, if you planted that fire safe in a bad location in your house, like your basement, because everything inside will be vaporized, but the safe itself will be intact.
Okay.
Yep.
So be careful about that.
Mm.
By the way, I like diplomat safes. I think those are great.
Okay.
Shall we talk about Shamir?
Yes, but we got to give them a background of what we were talking about in the green room.
Sure.
So can you tell everyone what your specific scenario is? And then we can talk, and what your question was, because these were really good points. I get hit with these often, but I'd like you to kind of explain your situation and how you intend to address it and what your concerns are.
Okay, let's say Prairie Banana becomes crypto rich and he sells everything. And we're literally selling a lot of stuff right now because we're downgrading our house. We're kind of getting ready for that travel mode if we can do that. We're planning to, hopefully. Okay. So let's say next stage would be we sell everything and then we just going to travel around. We'll be in an RV. We might be going to different countries. We might have a home base, but let's just say we don't. How do I handle my security? Because I've got these stainless steel plates. I don't want to be packing them around in my backpack necessarily. I don't know if that's a good idea. So how do I do that? How do I keep my crypto safe without a home base?
So that's a great point. There's so many different answers to this, but I recently, about a year and a half ago now, relocated from Japan to Hawaii, and in doing so, we had to worry about transporting things exactly that way. Mm-hmm. My advice to people from the beginning was, if you're going to, there's a lot of different ways. We had the luxury of being able to travel to our end location first, right? So we were able to leave Shamir backups both in the home base and the destroyable with the separate Shamir sequence in our previous location in Tokyo. Well, what is Shamir secret sharing? Because this is going to answer your question and create the solution for you at the same time. Shamir secret sharing is, and please don't mistake it for breaking up my 24-word seed into three even piles, and then dispersing them into different locations and having an A and a B point on one plate and a B and a C on the second and an A and a C on the third. Okay. And then all I have to do is get two of those plates together and I'm able to reconstitute the entire seed.
I thought that's what it was.
It isn't though. It isn't. It isn't. And then this is an important point. If it were that easy, or rather, when you do that, you take the easy way and you actually compromise the integrity of the encryption itself. Sure. Meaning, if anybody gets one of those plates, right, they've got 2/3 of your seed, and it's easy enough for them to guess the other 8 or use computer technology to do so.
Oh,
so you've compromised your bits of encryption that you are afforded by having a 24-word randomly selected seed. What Shamir secret sharing does is it replaces on all those plates the actual amount of decoys to make it a separate 24 or sometimes 36 slots. So if anybody finds it, they're going to find, oh, this is a unique seed unto itself. And all I have to do is type this into a computer and no, there's no money there. Fuck it. And they'll throw it away. And they can't even reconstitute it anyway using technology or anything else. Regarbling all these seeds will not generate your wallet. So what Shamir does, especially automated in the Trezor Model T, and I believe the Safe 3 and 5 also are compatible with this type of thing, with the Trezor anyway. is it automatically generates randomly 3 plates that you can reproduce, and those plates have a single reproducible component that is shared amongst all 3 plates, but it's in one sequence of 24 words. And in that sequence, only to be able to install it back into the Trezor when you get to your location, it will be able to determine which ones are your actual seed words that have to be put in to the whole mix and which ones are decoys. So
Wow.
you've got 3 plates of 24 to 36 words. And if you reconstitute 2 of them back into the Trezor through advanced recovery method, it's able to spit out your actual seeds that you used to generate the Shamir. So what we have here is disaster recovery and complexity. So disaster recovery means if you give one of those plates to your cousin, one to your son, and one to your aunt, and one of these guys tries to screw you over, they're not going to get anything. And if one of their houses burns down, you simply go and collect the other 2 plates and you go about your business.
So what you're saying? You need 2 out of the 3?
2 out of the 3, or you can nominate 3 out of 5, 5 out of 9, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay. It's
I don't
sounding
know if I may have, look, everything I say needs to be re-verified, but I'll tell you that the 3 out of 5 is possible. The 2 out of 3 is possible. And then it goes on. You can actually get more complex. There is a limit to how complex you should do things, because you can actually get screwed up. Think about having to travel 4 locations, 5 locations, trying to reconstitute your seed. It doesn't really make sense. Even if it's in the millions of dollars, you could afford yourself the same level of security if you simply had 2 out of 3 and a good passphrase.
Good. I like that.
Yeah. So you understand where we're going, though. You keep your seeds, you said, your seeds and your passphrase on metal plates. Excellent. However, they are in right reading, meaning if anybody gets them, if a cop takes your wallet and he finds that you got to go to the cooler for the night, he's going to take your wallet. It's going to be separated from you. And if it's on your person, because it's the only thing you trust, and you've never lost a wallet in your life, he's going to open that up and go through everything. Or if you get injured, the doctors are going to go and open up everything and try to find your insurance, and they'll leave everything right there on the counter while an intern comes over and takes a look at things and takes a little snapshot of everything that you own.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that to happen. So disaster recovery is important, and your security posture is degraded if you have things in right reading. So you should encrypt or provide a simple cipher, even like a Roman cipher or something like that, which simply jogs things a little bit to the left or to the right by certain slots. Like if you look at the BIP39 word list, there's numbers that are for every one of the words. So you can associate those numbers with what you're going to be backing up, but don't just do it easily that way, 1-to-1. You want to jog like the first 12 down by 7, and the next 12 or next 3 up by 4, and the next 3 or whatever the remainder are, down by 15. And you do that, and now it's infinitely more complex for anybody that captures a look at your stuff. That's what I recommend. However, the recipe for that also needs to be written down and backed up, because we don't trust brain wallets.
Right.
We don't. You could have a stroke, you could have a heart attack, you could have a brain injury, a concussion, an aneurysm. We don't know. But the thing is, you could just have old age syndrome like me and not remember what you ate yesterday. You don't trust your memory. You never trust a brain wallet. That's what we call it, a brain wallet. We don't trust brain wallets. We have to write things down and back them up and possibly obfuscate those things. It's an endless cycle, and you can go down the rabbit hole and make things infinitely more complex. But then in your old age, or even a year from now, when you want to cash out, you want to get into your wallet, you could screw yourself up. So practice getting in from a dead stop, practice, reading it, and make sure you know where those backups are held.
Cool. Is there anything else, Stylus, that you'd like to cover on the topic of security?
No, I think that we've covered a lot today, and that's been so enlightening. Every time I talk to Papa B, every time I talk to you, I learn something new. So it's great. I'm gonna, I don't have very much in my tangent, so don't worry. It's a very small amount on there, but I'll not put more on there.
I'm curious though. How did you get turned on to it? How did you first find out about it, and who convinced you? Did you just do it on your own, or what?
No, there was a couple of people who use them, whom I trust, who really love it and think it's great. So it's just word of mouth as referral, to be honest. But I hear what you're saying. I put very little. Like there's maybe 10% of my holdings on there. So, and I rarely connect to it. So
whatever helps. You'd be surprised what's on that wallet.
Look, I guess my message to everyone is, look, I'm a very opinionated person. I've seen a little bit of how the sausage is actually made in the back room, and I'll tell you that there are some pretty freaky things, and they're organized, like state-sponsored organized teams in lots of these bad countries that are rewarded for stealing your shit. So I will tell you now, don't get cute or trendy with your stuff. Look to the math to protect you, first of all. Look to where it's manufactured, where it's developed, where it's updated. Has to, and whether or not the company has a long-standing track record of nobody getting screwed. And if somebody did get screwed, that they have a boatload of cash that you can go after in a class action suit. It's not going to be much compared to what you had, but it's something at least to insecurity. In the companies that I've worked for, we were always asked, why the hell should we trust you to do our stuff than our in-house security team? Right? It's the first question that anyone asks. And we say to them, yes, you've got an in-house security team. We've got a dedicated company whose lifeblood is making sure we don't screw you over. If we were to screw you over, we would lose your business and everyone else's business in the blink of an eye. We'd be out of business. So you've kind of got us by our short and curlies when it comes to, me giving you my best guess about what you should be doing. If you take my advice, I'm honor bound, but also financially bound to make sure that I don't exploit that while I'm giving you that advice. So I look to that as well. When I look to a pedigree of a manufacturer, they better have a war chest of money as well. And right now, that's only two that I can think of.
Okay.
Well, very good. I think we're done with security.
Yeah, man. I could go down the rabbit hole about you moving, but I guess the TLDR version, that in case we didn't answer this correctly, is if you're gonna travel, Shamir secret sharing is a very good thing that you can either carry some on your person that's obfuscated and leave some back at your home base with a trusted party that has that last secret element, but also another one to another trusted party. So you only have to get two to reconstitute what you have when you reach your destination. And when you reach your destination, you reestablish your protocols that you had back at your home base. That's the best advice that I have. And that's the way that I travel. I travel with disposable paper backups, actually on plastic, what is it? There's like a type of paper that's actually not paper. It's made of a filament of plastic. So it's not going to smear in your pocket if you sweat or anything like that, or if you have a water landing and unexpected water landing. Yeah. So
like
those
rain and rain type material.
There you go. Exactly. Those are quite handy, and you write on those with Sharpie pen, and you can take those on. Also, I would get pen. Yep. But get the ones that don't have any metal, like no iron oxide in them, because those can actually show up on the X-ray machine when you put your hands up. Yep. You want the pen to make sure that it's a alcohol-based non-ferric type of pen. They do have them, and just mark them on there for the tour, and then you can destroy it when you get to your final location. So that's my advice.
All right, cool. All right. Do you guys want to talk about some tax stuff?
No, I think that's going to be that's going to be another stream. I do want to talk about it, but it's going to be another hour. So I think we can.
It takes time.
Yeah.
Well, we'll visit off screen about that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right on.
Good. Oh, let's answer this question. Paul Sachs says, sealed in a moisture-resistant bag, placed in a new military ammo can, then buried in the ground. Approved?
Okay. So my first question is, what is the backup made of? I presume it's stainless steel or some kind of metal type of thing. I would either, I think there was a specialist that we talked to in the chat that said, yeah, I would do that, but I would dip the actual cylinder of fender washers, if that's what we're talking about, in wax first, and that'll cut off all the oxygen to it. Then I would put it in the plastic bag, then in the ammo can, then in the ground.
Wow.
And that should survive for longer than you'll be alive.
Great.
But also an ammo can is kind of a big footprint, and the disturbance of the ground could have somebody coming out with a metal detector or something. Maybe I'd go smaller than that. I'd probably just do plastic bag or a plastic case that is not biodegradable, and keep the footprint much smaller, and go with the wax coating, plastic, seal, bury.
Wow. Okay.
That's just me. And by the way, if you were to put make that titanium instead of stainless steel, even the metal detector would not register it as ferric. So you'd put it down and it wouldn't beep.
Okay.
Wow. Interesting. I'm probably going to think of a half a dozen things that we should have mentioned or talked about.
Well, we can come back to that sometime.
Yeah, we can have part 2.
Yeah. Okay. So, man, Papa Boehner, it was so enjoyable to meet you and have you on stream. This has been really good, and I'm hoping that this stream will be something that will be a resource for people.
And please remember, as my closing statement, these are the reflections of an old kook, and security is ever evolving. The bad guys are always one step ahead. The advice and the reflections and the opinions are my own, and if things evolve to the point where hardware wallets are cracked, a SHA-256-512 gets cracked, we will try the best as we can in this community to advise to the next best thing, and we'll all migrate there together. Today, this is the best that I can come up with that I know of. But like I said before, there are other exceptional minds in our community that you can turn to for advice at all times. I started a website and a Telegram group called B9. It's b9.xyz right here. We try to update that regularly, but we've kind of been lax. The Telegram group is a lot more current. There you can rub elbows with some of the best practitioners in our space. Go on in there and join if you like. It's free. There's nothing to sell, and nobody's ever going to get you and ask for your seeds. If they do, then report them right away, and never ever discuss anything like that with anybody ever. Not even me or a deep fake of anybody like Korypto Stylist who's just saying, "Oh, please give me your crypto seeds." No, not do that at all. Thank you.
I don't know why I didn't think of mentioning there is a Hex security group, guys. I've learned so much for those, and I've gone there in emergencies too.
Yes, Hex security is good too. Very good. Very good.
And then Papa Boehner, you also mentioned What the Hex, which is a YouTube channel.
Or Syndicate, right?
No. That was Wake Up Hex. This is What the Hex, and this is with DJ Cryptomatic, Peter, and Elmire sometimes, and Toby One Hexobi. We do a once a week stream on Thursdays. You're more than welcome to come. It's called What the Hex. And I think we are on episode, I think 95 or 96 now. But do a search for that on YouTube. You'll find us. DJ Cryptomatic is the host. Yep.
Okay.
Any final comments, Korypto Stylist?
No, thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, Papa B, Prairie. It's great to hang out. This has been an amazing discussion. I learned so much. I appreciate you both. I appreciate this whole community. I just wish everybody the maddest of gains and really good security.
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It was an honor to be on your broadcast. Thanks a lot, guys. And yes, I echo that remark. We've come this far, now just a little bit longer, only 15 more years.
Exactly. Just 15. Okay.
Thanks so much for joining, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Have a good weekend.